Needless Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs! Welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and before I get to anything else, I want to announce to you that Saturday, May the 22nd, we will be going live on Twitch at 8-ish p.m., myself and some very special guests, to review the Masters of the Universe Origins toy line thus far. 2 weeks ago, we went live with the greatest animated series of all time. You can watch the full video on the Needless Things YouTube channel, or you can just listen to the podcast in the same place where you found this podcast. And I'm very excited about Twitch. I know I said I was going to get it started a while ago, but it just took a while to sort of get everything straightened out. And I had to find a producer, and it turns out my producer is my 13-year-old son, Phantom Jr., and he did an awesome job. You can see it yourself. It's easier to see if you're watching live because there's some editing involved in the YouTube version. But if you join us 8-ish p.m. Saturday night live on Twitch, go ahead and follow Needless Things on Twitch or subscribe or whatever it is you do. Ring that bell. I don't know. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have, a lot more content coming on Twitch from Needless Things. So now that that is taken care of, you have to excuse me, I'm experiencing various levels of discomfort from various sources here. I just finished my DDP yoga workout, and I kind of went for it in one of the poses, and my right hip is, I stretched it a little bit too much, but I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. I feel great other than that. Very healthy. Things are going well. I'm feeling good, still keeping up with DDP yoga. And then there's this ongoing issue with my microphone. You guys, if you have any input, if you have any help, any thoughts about why something in my computer is automatically lowering the input level of my microphone. And my understanding is that there's some kind of software somewhere that levels it out to optimal levels, but it's not optimal. It's super quiet. And it's driving me nuts because sometimes I will get a couple minutes into recording and look up at my screen and realize that my levels are like nowhere. So I don't know what's doing this. I've looked it up online. I can't seem to figure out exactly what or where the problem is. So if you guys have any ideas, please hit me up in the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group. Shoot me a message wherever you can shoot me a message. Email me at phantomtroublemaker@gmail.com. I will accept emails about this. Okay, other things to officially announce. First of all, the Twitch thing is a big deal. I'm very excited. I hope some of you are able to join us live, or all of you are able to join us live. And if you can't, it will be a podcast episode, and it will go up on YouTube, on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Speaking of which, I was very lucky in that, and I don't believe in luck a whole lot, but there was absolutely luck involved here. I was able to get one of the Special Missions Cobra Island Major Blood figures. If you know, those are a horrible pain in the butt to find. And I got one for me. I got one for Phantom Jr., and I reviewed it on the Needless Things YouTube channel. And then on Wednesday, I reviewed the new Loyal Subjects Best Action Angel figure, which is an action figure that exists. So go check that out. Every Monday and Wednesday, new content on the Needless Things YouTube channel. What else have we got coming up? Oh, okay, here's the big news. So I have officially announced that the Big Damn Game Show will be returning to DragonCon on September 4th, 2021, despite the fact that the email I sent to all the volunteers said 2022. Oops. Yes, we are putting the game show together. We are doing it. We have already some surprises planned. It is going to be bigger and, well, I'm not going to say it's going to be bigger than ever. It's going to be smoother than ever. I'm not going to, and I know you say go big or go home, that's the thing. But guess what? We may not even be not home. We don't know yet how Dragon Con is going to shake out. So while we are planning everything, panels and Big Damn Game Show and whatever else, to be fun and great and awesome, I am not pulling out the big guns because I cannot put that effort into something and then have it not happen. And I believe 100% that it's going to happen. Okay, I believe like 85% it's going to happen. But that 15% is what's keeping me from buying the like confetti cannons and glow-in-the-dark neon sprinklers and whatever else I might be more compelled to invest in for the big return of the game show, because we knew we were taking a year off for the premiere of Troublemaker, which, by the way, more news coming about Troublemaker soon. If you don't know, that is the documentary about me, directed by the Emmy Award-winning Jason Wilson. We are getting together very soon to put some finishing touches on a certain little something for Troublemaker. So big news on that coming soon. Lots of stuff going on, you guys. We're coming out of this global nightmare, those of us who are responsible and doing what we should be doing. And there are a lot of opportunities on the horizon, and I plan to dive after each one of them and grab them with my hands clawed up like eagle talons. I'm getting back into this stuff, and I'm excited. I spent as much time as I could the past 2 days working on the game show, working on stuff for the podcast, and for all of the things that I do that are easily at least another full-time job. So anyway, that's the world of needless things and what's going on right now. I didn't know sitting down that I was going to have quite that much to talk about, but then I realized, because I do compartmentalize these things. The podcast is a thing. The Twitch is a thing. The game show is a thing. The panels at DragonCon, like all of it occupies separate portions of my brain. So when I sit down to do this and they all line up like, hey, we've got to go over this, that's when I realize, like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in my life. But that's fantastic, because it has not been the case for the past year, and I could not be happier or more excited about just everything coming back to life. All right, so I hope you took some of that in. Oh, I got one more Needless Things announcement. Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, which I hope you're checking out. People who are not even G.I. Joe fans have told me that they enjoy listening to it. It's myself, Noel Wood, and Christian Allen, and we are lifelong G.I. Joe fans talking about G.I. Joe. Different stuff every month drops. We are now going back to the first Monday of every month because... And again, this is my brain sort of shuffling everything together. Needless Things is returning to a full-time schedule starting now. You will get 4 episodes of Needless Things, or a new episode of Needless Things every Friday, because we are able to once again gather and do that sort of offset Needless Commentary episode. And then, in addition to an episode of Needless Things every Friday, the first Monday of every month, you will have a new episode of Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, which is now available in its own separate stream via Anchor Podcasts. I was hesitant to use Anchor at first, and I'm not going to get into why now, but it basically came down to how important it was to me for Audible Interlude to be its own entity, independent of Needless Things, part of but separate from, in the same way that Chapter 66, that Chad and Beth and Ryan had to take that off in its own way for it to grow and for it to not be under this Needless Things cap, because it's just, there's a lot of business stuff involved there. I'm sure you can figure it out. You're all smart people, or you wouldn't be listening to this show. But I want these shows to be as separate as possible, but also as financially feasible as possible. And I'm not paying twice what I'm paying for Needless Things to be hosted to add Audible Interlude on once a month, which is what my current host wanted. So there you go. That's all the news. I hope you wrote it down, because I don't even remember what it all is at this point. Other news, non-Needless Things news, and I'm going to run through this pretty quick now. Why I quit WWE, you will hear during this week's episode, which is, by the way, a wonderful conversation with my good friend, my brother from another mother, Mike Gordon, returning to the show just to talk about everything, to talk about the last year, to talk about what's going on now with things opening up, talk about conventions, talk about ear hair, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's an awesome conversation. I had a blast talking to Mike. It was exactly what I needed for this sort of reset period. So during that, we talk about wrestling a little bit, and I discuss some of my frustrations. Well, we share some of our frustrations with the current WWE product. And since that conversation, I've come to the conclusion that Raw and SmackDown, I'm taking a little break. We're on a break. I'm going to continue watching AEW, NXT, and Dynamite, but I canceled my Peacock subscription because, quite frankly, Backlash was just dull, boring. I fell asleep twice and ultimately had to go back and rewatch the boring matches that I fell asleep during. It wasn't all boring, but it just... I'm at a point where Raw and SmackDown are not worth my time. I have other things to do with that 5 hours a week. And I do not want to cut back on the other wrestling shows that I mentioned because they are still very entertaining to me and I find them worthwhile and quality time investments. Raw and SmackDown, unfortunately, have fallen out of that category. And this happened maybe about 10 years ago. Where I just stopped watching for a while, and it was great. So I am for the time being done with the sort of main programs, I guess, of WWE. And Peacock has a lot to do with it too, but we talk about that on the show, so I'll leave that for later. All right, next up, Marvel Legends Infinity Saga. Those figures are finally sort of seeing the light of day. We got Fat War Thor, Endgame Thanos, and Tony Stark, or Iron Man, an Iron Man Mark III, which, by the way, Thor looks great, and the point was made that if he had come out back when the movie came out, he wouldn't have been accurate. And now he is accurate. Same goes for Thanos and Iron Man from the end of Endgame. They look, I think, incredible. The deco on those figures is awesome. They come with a lot of good accessories. I would have preferred, though, to be honest, an Iron Man with all of those modular pieces of that suit over another Thanos, but at the same time, that Thanos is damaged. He looks all gnarly and messed up. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily need this, but it looks really cool, so I'm probably going to get it. I am going to get it. Iron Man Mark III, which falls in the category of not going to get it, because it's not one of my favorite suits of armor, and the only big difference between this one and the one I've got is the faceplate is up on the head, so you get a Tony Stark portrait, but I've already got a couple of Tony Stark portraits, so I'm good to go. Happy and Mark 21, which is the Midas suit. I'm excited about this. People were mad that it's the Midas suit because it's just all gold, but look, this is a figure of Jon Favreau, who is basically the father of so many incredible pop culture things right now. I am buying two. I'm going to keep one in the box as sort of a tribute to Favreau's awesomeness. I wish it was just a Happy figure. But I'm keeping one in the box and I'm going to open one up because that's Favreau, man, that guy is just incredible. And then finally, Captain Marvel and Rescue from Endgame. Captain Marvel looks awesome. I like this version of her suit a lot. I like this haircut a lot. Rescue, the portraits don't look anything like Gwyneth Paltrow to me. I don't know what happened here, and maybe they'll look better in hand, but I don't know. But I'm getting this set anyway because you just put the helmet on, and it's still an awesome Rescue figure. All right, moving on from Marvel Legends, we've got Super 7 is doing a second run of the first series of TMNT figures, TMNT Ultimates. I highly recommend this line. It's one of my favorite toy lines going right now. I would say Masters of the Universe Origins is my favorite toy line at the moment because its affordability, the relative ease with which I have found most of it, and we'll talk more about that Saturday night, and just that they're fantastic toys. But I guess the Super 7 Turtles Ultimates are my favorite collector's line right now because they haven't nailed every one, and you can go look at the Needless Things YouTube channel. I have reviewed every figure that has come out so far, and there are some issues that I've recognized that have not yet been addressed in the way that Super 7 addressed the issues with the Thundercats Ultimates. and I don't know that they will, but this is still an incredible toy line. If you're a Ninja Turtles fan, especially if you were collecting the original figures, I think you got to have this, and you're going to be kicking yourself if you don't get it. All right. The Masterverse, Masters of the Universe Revelations first wave. We are going to talk about this Saturday night. Since it's a Masters of the Universe themed Twitch stream, we will be discussing those Saturday. I have to make a correction on Boglins. Our friend Tim Clark and his new line of Boglins toys, which are available lots of places now, and you better get them because, again, you're going to be kicking yourself if you miss out on these. Get at least one, for goodness sake. I made a mistake in my review of the 3 Boglins that came out. I thought on the back of the box there are a few Boglins on the bottom right. I thought they were going to be the smaller size Boglins. They are not. They are the second wave of 3-horned kings. So, but if you look at the art, they look similar to the way the small Boglins were illustrated. And when you're doing a live unboxing and you're taking in all that information and trying to be timely, it's just difficult to get all that out and to be right about everything. And I didn't recognize the names off the top of my head, so I just thought they were the smaller Boglins, but they're not. So I've got to correct that from the Needless Things YouTube video. And in other Boglins news, Walmart canceled my Dark Lords. Bogabones and Blobkin, the Halloween Boglins that you might remember, the skeleton and the jack-o'-lantern, Walmart had them up for order, so I ordered them from Walmart because I thought, you know what, why not? It's interesting to me to try pre-orders from different places to see what happens. And I know I want a set of these, and I know Phantom Jr. wants a set of these. So I ordered directly, since I backed the Kickstarter for the first 3, I had a link to order directly from the Boglins online store early for the Dark Lords. And then I made an order from Walmart for Phantom Jr., and Walmart canceled them. And we're like still 4 months away from them even coming out. I don't know why they got canceled, but they did. So I said, F you, Walmart, and I ordered them from BigBadToyStore.com because they're my favorite online toy store, and they don't disappoint. All right. One last thing. I already mentioned Needless Things YouTube. Obviously, I already mentioned the greatest animated series of all time. Please go watch that, share it, like it, do whatever it is you do if you enjoy the things that we do here at Needless Things. You know what? I think that's it. I've gone on long enough. That's enough of an intro. You guys aren't here to listen to me. You guys want to hear the dulcet tones of the phenomenal Mike Gordon as he discusses the world as it has been, as it is, and as it will be. Joining me tonight, the magnificent, the mystical, the magical, the wise, the kind, the wonderful. Welcome back to the show, Mike Gordon.
Howdy! There's no way possible I'm going to ever live up to that introduction as long as I live.
I guarantee you will, because every single time you come on this show, it's a wonderful experience, which is why it's been far too long.
Yeah, it really has. I think this is the first time this year.
The last time we talked was I came over to Earth Station Who.
Oh, right. Yes, that was fun. That was great having you back on there.
It was fun talking about Doctor Who again. I have missed. I mean, I've actually been running through the Tom Baker episodes, but
good stuff.
I've missed talking about Doctor Who, but the fandom drove me off. So what are you gonna do?
Toxic fandom? What? That's
right.
Crazy.
It
never happens.
I feel like over the last year, it's gotten worse than it's ever been, too.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get a bunch of people that just are stuck at home.
Right.
Nothing to do but gripe.
You'd think they'd appreciate things more, but no, they just had more time to bitch and moan about it. I'm going to move my little brain guy out of the way. Sorry about that.
Okay.
What a distraction. All right, so I don't know. I've got a couple of little bullet points here of conversation starters, but I don't know what we're going to end up talking about tonight. I thought we would just dive into whatever came up, but I'm going to start with something a little weird.
You know what? I would expect nothing less.
So let me tell you that I am utterly disgusted and grossed out by fingernails and toenails. I hate them. I find them repulsive. The fact that these hard, chitinous things are growing out of our fingers and toes is extremely disturbing to me. If I could just have them all removed easily, I would. And I would just have, like, I guess, Vienna sausages at the ends of my hands and feet.
little carrot nubs.
but anyway, so any issues that occur with fingernails just bother me. And on my ring finger on my left hand, and you're going to wonder why I'm telling you this, probably for the rest of your life. My ring finger on my left hand, the nail like split
Ooh.
down. And I've never had this happen before. Apparently it is a thing that happens. And it didn't go all the way down to like the skin under the nail, but it just, you could see like there was a split going back to the quick. And I'm like, this is terrible. And the first, like when it first happened, it was just at the tip of the nail, and I like trimmed it off and tried to keep it from snagging on stuff, but you can't do that because we use our hands every day, Mike Gordon. So eventually got to the point where it was never painful, but it got to the point where I was very concerned that like I was going to snag and just rip off half my fingernail, which would be unpleasant. So I got online, I used the Google as one does, and I discovered I don't know that it's a remedy, but it's something to keep it from getting worse while the nail grows out, and hopefully the split, like as the nail grows, hopefully the split goes away. I currently have, I don't know if I've got my high def camera. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's my ring finger. You can't really see it. I currently have a tea bag fingernail polished onto my fingernail because the remedy for fingernail splits, and this is important information for our listeners, I think, in the event that their fingernails split and they don't know what to do. So the procedure here is you get some clear fingernail polish, get yourself a tea bag, cut the top off the tea bag, get rid of the tea. You don't need the tea unless you'd like to have some tea, and that's fine.
Why not? You know what? Don't put the tea to waste.
But don't put the tea on your fingernail either. Throw it in the trash. And you cut out a fingernail-sized piece of tea bag. You put a layer of clear fingernail polish on the fingernail, lay the tea bag piece on top of that, let that dry. Put another coat of fingernail polish on, and then another coat of fingernail polish on. And you've got this, and the weird thing is, though, you can't see the tea bag. It disappears. Like
Magic.
if you got really up close to my fingernail, you'd be like, there's something weird about that fingernail, but it's clear. The tea bag, like you certainly wouldn't look at this fingernail and think there's a tea bag under 2 layers of nail polish on that fingernail.
If you're gonna use nails polish, though, dude, like go all out, man. Don't make it clear. You know, get the glittery stuff, man.
I've still got to go to my day job. I don't want to talk to those people about my fingernails. If this happened around Dragon Con, I'd do it up. You'd have purple glitter all over the place.
That is useful information. I have not ever done that. Not that I recall, but I can tell you that the weirdest thing is about getting older. It seems like while a lot of things are refusing to grow, like my hair and whatnot, my fingernails are not among them. They have seemed to be like, no, we're going to grow, and we're going to even grow faster than we were before.
Dude, fingernails, I have my ear, and listeners, we're getting real here. Ear hair.
Get real something.
Fortunately, I don't have the like bushels of hair in my ears that some end up with, at least not yet. I don't have like the army of spiders trying to crawl out of my ear, but I do get the ear hairs from time to time, and I tweeze them out. It's not enough that I feel the need to like shave them with one of those little shaver trimmer deals, but I can't tolerate them and I'm aware of them. So I've tweezers with me at all times in order to
At all
take
times.
care of this ear hair situation. But what bothers me is I will groom my ear canals and wake up the next morning and there will be like an 1.5 inch long black hair just growing. And where did it come from? Overnight. What is this?
It's crazy.
What
Well, it's like
are
it's kind
things
of
are
like
falling
grass. Like when
apart.
you mow it, it grows faster. You kind of like it. It's sentient or something.
I don't know. And you'd think this is what I don't understand about the eyebrow situation is not good either. My eyebrows are growing faster every day. And they must be trimmed. We're grown-ups, Mike. We trim our eyebrows. We do not
Yes.
let them turn into F. Murray Abraham eyebrows.
No, no one got time for that.
No. Well, I can't stand it because I see them. If I can see eyebrow hairs in my field of vision,
Right.
I lose my mind. I can't tolerate it. I don't know how the old guys with the giant crazy eyebrows, I don't know how they exist with those things because they have to be able to see them
They just don't.
like the eyelashes people put on the headlights of their little Volkswagen cars. I can't imagine. All
They
right.
just don't care.
Well, anyway, that was
Wow.
a weird
That
start.
yeah, I did not expect. You're right. None in a million years I would not have seen that coming as
Who
far as
could have
our
known?
main topics.
So I've got a little list of topics here, but did you have anything like when I said, "Hey, Mike, why don't we just have a conversation?" Was there anything that sort of sprung to mind? You were like, "You know what?
I have got nothing to promote, so I am not here to shill. That's for sure.
Well, that's okay. We can still talk about Tiki Zombie and New Legend Productions, though."
If you like to, yeah. Unfortunately, I've gotten despite the pandemic and all the time I seem to have on my hands, I have gotten very little done to show for it. So,
Oh, the pandemic has not been good for productivity whatsoever. I don't understand how this happened. And granted, my job is considered essential, so I've been going into work just the same as always. But we haven't been doing anything else. So I have, in theory, had more time to get things done. And I guess launching the Needless Things YouTube channel, that
okay,
happened last year. And I feel pretty good about making that happen. But I also feel like I really should have been able to get more done. And let's be honest, you should be up to issue 12 of Tiki Zombie by now.
I should. This year is its 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Since yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Congratulations.
it's a decade of since the first issue came out, and I had big plans for the 10th year anniversary. Had big plans, and yeah, and then another thing that's kind of stalled me too is that every year, because Dragon Con was my big show, and I love it more than any other show, and it's the show that I want to have something new to promote and to have there on the table. Without it being there last year and this year, it's proven to be like there's no incentive for me to I don't have a deadline. I need to get this done by then.
It threw my creative spectrum off as well because I didn't have planning for Dragon Con kind of centers everything that I do in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not like my whole year is centered around Dragon Con. I mean, it is to an extent, but like not everything I do is Dragon Con centric, but having that focus Labor Day weekend provides sort of an anchor for everything else. And not having that last year, one was devastating for not having that's my vacation. I don't go fish, I don't go hunt, I don't go play
Right.
golf. I go to Dragon Con. And not having that was spiritually devastating. But also looking back, you're right. Even though I don't have a specific thing that I do at Dragon Con in that way, like a comic book launch or something, it is a central thing for me, and not having that it rippled out to everything else, I guess.
Yeah, and it's same with me. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go so far like you. Anchor's a good word. I wouldn't go so far as to say of like Dragon Con's the sun and I'm just revolving around,
Right, right.
But I mean, it is. I do business wise. It is my Christmas, like for
Yeah.
retailers, like it's the big day. It's you have to, so everything has to be centered around the schedule for that. And any other conventions that happen, yeah, those are good too. But Dragon Con's always the biggest and best one for me.
Well, and that's a great segue to my first topic is discussing cons and what's happening, uh, things, how do we feel about them? And I'm sure you guys are discussing this on the ESO Dragon Con report.
Yeah, it's been weird. It's been kind of interesting because we haven't had a lot of
Right.
substantial news to report this year. But we've gone ahead and produced an episode every month. And what I've taken upon it myself to do is that we are spotlighting every episode. I want to marginalize sounds so kind of insulting, but a group that usually doesn't get like its due at Dragon, and to find out if they're being represented very well at Dragon Con. February was Black History Month, so we invited some people from the Dragon Con Black Geeks group. We had some people that I think in last month we had some people from the plus size group. We're going to have some LGBT folks. We've got some disabled people. So, we're trying to spotlight those experiences at Dragon Con because I want to make sure that they're not forgotten. And, in this time where we're sort of appreciating what shows bring to us, I think, for those groups in particular, it brings a lot more to them because they don't have a lot of them don't have as many outlets to go to and to experience fandom like Dragon Con as we do.
Right. Right.
So that's what we've been doing on that show, in addition to just having fun and drinking pie and chatting as well. So and talking about the latest news. So but yeah, I miss going to conventions, man. I do. I really do. I knew because even I always considered myself. I've been to some conventions that were run very horribly. Two in particular were like the worst experiences as far as the way they were run. But yet I've always prided myself on never having a bad experience or a bad time because usually the people that I'm with or the hangout, whatever. And it just, when I walk onto a convention floor and see the dealers, the exhibitors, the fans, the people in costume, the comic book indie creators and artists and everything like that, it just feels like home to me. It really does feel like home. And almost every show that I go to, the last day, I always just walk around and just breathe it in because I know I don't know when I'm going to experience it again. And I had no idea last year.
Yeah, right.
that I wasn't going to experience.
Do you know off the top of your head what the last convention you went to was
Absolutely.
before this?
Yeah. The last show I went to, this was like 2 weeks before the lockdown. There was a tiki convention in Atlanta called Inuhele.
Oh yeah.
And so I had a table there. It was so fun. We had no idea what was coming. We were kind of nervous then about what was going to happen. We weren't sure because it was right on the bubble of everything really just closing down and all that. So it was really kind of a nice release before that. And it was just that community, especially in Atlanta, is so full of love and Moana spirit, like family spirit. So I just it was a great one to quote unquote end on, but if you will. But yeah, I have seen conventions go on in this town without me, and that's a very strange experience because on the one hand, I get it. I want to go so bad, but I can't. I'm not there. I'm not there yet.
The last even close to convention thing I did was the Geek Garage sale in it was January or February. I can't remember which. But and you know, it wasn't a convention. It was basically a giant dealer's room with local people. But it was great. It was fun. A lot of cool people were there. Everybody was super nice. Like it was a similar experience, and it was certainly the last group experience I had prior to the lockdown, which we never imagined. There's no way we could have imagined. This is unprecedented in our history. What
Absolutely.
happened?
Yeah.
We all thought, a couple of months we'll be back out. Well, I mean, remember, think about it. This time last year, we thought we were still wondering if Dragon Con might happen.
You say we thought about a couple months, but we didn't know. We didn't know how long this was going to last. We didn't know if it was going to last 2 years, 2 months, 5.
I mean,
had no idea.
At this point last year, I don't think I really believed we'd still be dealing with it now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I believed that. But we've come through. Things are the most important thing is the vaccines are out there.
Right.
And some of us are choosing to get vaccinated. And as such, it appears now, as you said, conventions have been going on. I have not gone to any because I've not felt like that's the right choice for me and my family.
Same here.
But now I am vaccinated. My family is, Mrs. Troublemaker is vaccinated. Phantom Jr. very soon will be. But he's not, he's not an at-risk. And
Right.
certainly by the time of Dragon Con, he will be. And that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about a little bit is what do we think? And again, I refer to the listeners to the ESO Con report, Dragon Con report, because I'm sure you guys have been talking about this, but I'm going full steam ahead. Obviously, I think that there will be some precautions for Dragon Con, but I'm planning panels. We're doing the game show, or we're planning the game show. We're proceeding as though it is going to happen and we are going to be there. That is the plan for the Needless Things group. And for myself, I'm comfortable, but I really don't know what to expect. I mean, attendance is certainly going to be down because I would imagine international guests are probably out of the picture because their ability to quarantine is going to be a big issue. Because I'm sure they take time off already to come here to go to Dragon Con and then to take the additional time.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to shake out, but I mean, I guess how I'm looking at it is people can protect themselves, and I'm past the point where I feel like organizations have the responsibility to look out for people because now the option is there. The vaccine's widely available. Many vaccines are widely available. So I don't feel like it's up to Dragon Con to look out for people anymore. Now, obviously, they can still do things like try to space things out as best they can, put out but it's a convention. It's going to be crazy. People are going to be ignoring. There's not going to be 6 feet between any two people at Dragon Con, except probably you and Eliza Dushku. But
that's a legal thing.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if I had been comfortable for myself going to conventions, it would have been on my conscience that these conventions shouldn't have been happening in the first place. But now I feel like we're in a different place where the public has a responsibility to take care of themselves, and these entities, these businesses that need to exist, that need to generate revenue, as long as they do so in a responsible manner, no longer are obligated to say, well, we just can't happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, where are you? And if you have a different point of view, that's 100% fine. Where are you on this?
I'm very close to that. I'm certainly of the opinion that, well, like I said, we've already had in the Atlanta area and closely around here, we've already had about 3 or 4 smaller conventions happen. Toylanta was one of them. Up in Greenville, they had this SE Comic Con, which I heard had about 10,000 people. Metrotham Con was in Chattanooga, and they had, I don't know, they had a few hundred people, maybe a few thousand people. I've noticed that, when I tune in and watch the Braves games at home, they are at 100% capacity. And so you're talking about 38,000 people. When they show the crowds, they are not wearing masks. They are sitting all next to each other in crowds.
Yeah.
And that's happening now.
Right. Right. We're not even talking about 4 months from now.
Right.
We're talking about right now.
Right. Same thing with the Atlanta United. They're having games at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with 40,000 people in it. So Georgia has said, and there's precedent for Georgia, like, we're putting on shows. We're letting large groups of people get together. The Atlanta Comic Convention, which happens in August this year, is a go at the World Congress Center. So now, what things they have to put in place, I don't know. And it's one thing when it's a convention center or it's an arena or stadium, but it's another thing when you have to coordinate that with 5 hotels,
right?
And the America's Mart, and all of that, and the city, especially if you're really serious about putting on a parade. So there's all these factors that Dragon Con is going to have to deal with, and of course, it changes on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
What they can and what they can't do. So I've been keeping an eye out, and there's not a lot of news that on that front because they can't announce anything yet. They don't know what's going to happen yet. They don't know what restrictions are going to be in place and whatnot. They don't know what each hotel chain is going to do. So then it comes down to, they've announced that they are going to do a in-person event, and they're going to have virtual programming. So I imagine that it will be less virtual programming than last year, but they do understand how successful that was.
Yeah.
And I think that we should have that. I think I'm in favor of having some sort of virtual convention, virtual programming, even if people had to pay for it. I think it would be a good thing. Like, if you paid whatever it is, I think the membership fee for DragonCon TV right now is $10 for the year.
Yeah, it's a negligible fee.
Yeah, if you paid $10 and could watch a few panels or the masquerade or the parade and a couple of other things, I mean, if you couldn't go to the show, why not do that, right?
Well, and if, as far as organizing the digital programming during the live event, look, if a dum-dum like me can get on Twitch and live stream the greatest animated series of all time, then anybody at DragonCon can set up a little camera and broadcast a panel. I mean, there's no reason why select, and I'm not saying obviously you don't want everything done like that, but there's no reason why select panels can't just be broadcast live as they happen. That's the world we're in now.
But you also want to make sure you have content that
you want some exclusivity.
To the convention.
Right, for sure. But I do think it would be a great idea for each track to select, a couple panels a day that highlight what the track is about to broadcast as part of the programming. I think that would be fantastic. As a matter of fact, you really wouldn't even need a couple, because what are there? How many tracks are there now? 30.
There's about 30.
30. Yeah. So right there,
Yeah, there's only
you're
24 hours in a day, dude.
right. You can't even get every track in every
You can't
day.
even get every track in every day.
No.
So yeah,
So
you'd have to right.
and I'm sure, look, Dragon Con's media people, and the Dragon Con TV folks,
So good.
they're on top of this.
They're so good.
What
For people who don't get
whatever
paid, man.
right. Well, speaking as somebody who doesn't get paid, I can tell you it doesn't affect your passion really, because we're all insane.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I'll tell you, anything that we're discussing right now, those guys have already thought about and improved on. So I I do look forward, as much as, like I said, 100% right now in my head, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be putting on entertainment. I'm going to be doing things. I'm going to be having a great weekend. But as much as I'm planning on that, I am excited about the potential for, what they can provide to people who choose to stay at home and who
Right.
aren't ready to get back out yet. And I do think that's going to be an important part of the Dragon Con message, is that we'd love to see you, but we also support anybody who wants to have a long distance relationship with us. And again, the people that work for Dragon Con love what they do. They're the best of the best. And whatever message they put out there is going to be the right message. That, like, they're going to handle this like champs, whatever it ends up being.
I
And I
think
feel
so.
like they did that last year. People were talking about, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on because they're trying to do the best job they can do in the situation, in a situation nobody on the planet has ever dealt with before.
I know.
I think people last year were a little bit hard on them for.
I think what they did last year was
timeline.
Incredible.
It was amazing, because they didn't even know when did we didn't know for sure that it wasn't happening until the end of July? Is that?
It was probably around then that they had to they made the final decision, because
had to say,
because they
we
had to
can't do it.
Yeah, we can't do it.
So think about that. In just barely over a month.
But they were preparing prior.
They were preparing the whole time.
Yeah.
But obviously what I'm doing is a much, much, much smaller scale. But it's difficult because we're kind of trying to make plans for if we end up having to do things virtually. We're considering a virtual game show at this point. Like, we're trying to take into account that it might not happen, but that we don't want our work to be for nothing.
Right.
So and they were on this massive scale doing this last year, and they pulled it off. They pulled it off beautifully.
Yeah, I think they did a remarkable job, especially, like I said, I mean, these are people who don't get paid, they're volunteers, but to your point, they're passionate about what they do. And that's one thing I've always loved about Dragon Con, is the fact that it really is for the fans, by the fans. I mean, sure, there's some, obviously business is business, right?
Well, I mean,
but this is not a corporate event. This is not a this is not a corporate run.
This is not
promo.
Disney. This is not Disney's Dragon Con.
Right. This is right. Exactly. It's not D23 or whatever it's called. Like, they're not they don't have an agenda of pushing the latest and greatest. This is just people who want to hang out and be with each other and share the stuff they love. And I think that came across really well. I mean, you had a lot of folks really, wanting to make sure that happened, because they easily could have just said, you know what, we're just going to skip this year. We're not going to do it. It can't happen. We can't do it live, but I think even if the con had said that, the community would have been like, no, we're going to do an unofficial Dragon Con, because we want this so much, because it means so much to us. And look, there are options. We can get together digitally, we can get together virtually, and it happened. Now, is it a replacement? Not at all. I mean, there's a lot of things that but not only the programming, the creativity, and everything that they put together, but I really have to thank them too for at least from my perspective, for putting together a marketplace and allowing the artists and the dealers to have a virtual sort of dealer room, online sales. I sold more stuff last year than I did the previous year in person.
That's fantastic.
And a large part of that was because now my store was open to the world.
Yeah, you didn't have to make the trek to get
Right.
to the table
Yeah.
that hopefully
You didn't have to wait in the line for an hour.
that hopefully will have the thatched tiki roof. Mike Gordon, every time I see your table and it doesn't have that thatched roof on top of it, I'm let down.
Yeah, well, you have to go topless every once in a while.
Okay.
Even at Dragon Con.
Speaking
Especially
of
Dragon
going
Con.
topless, no, I'm just kidding. I got nothing for that.
So, as far as so that's their plan. They're gonna do something, and it's just TBA. So whatever they do now, personally, everything is rolled over. So I am a guest. I am listed as a guest at Dragon Con this year. I'm on the website and everything like that. I will have a table in Artist Alley, in the comic book Artist Alley, and there will be a community there. And I even have my hotel room at the Westin that I had secured last year. So
now let me ask you, I have heard that some of the hotels have said that they're not going to roll over legacy people if they don't come this year.
Westin doesn't have legacy, so I don't know anything about
that. Okay. Well, you're part of the ESO Dragon Con report. I think
I am. And I don't know that. We have looked. It's been a while since we looked into hotel information.
Well, put it on the next episode.
So
take your little pen and write that down on the docket.
Right. Okay. Let me. We're recording our next episode in 2 days, by the way. So, if it's not on the next one, forgive me. But
then you've got 2 days to look into it. I'm a Hilton guy, and I have been doing the legacy thing. But like I said, I am there in my head right now, as far as I'm concerned. In less than 4 months, I will be back there. So I'm not super concerned. Although I will say that if anything ever happened with the Hilton, I would be more than happy to stay at the Hotel Blue, or what, I can't remember what it was called. That place was really nice. The newer hotel that's kind of by the Westin, I think.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what it's called now. But it's
not the Aloft, right?
No.
That's down the road a bit.
It's the Blue, something like that. Anyway, the Electric Blue, like the old Playboy show. All right, so that I think that's kind of where I wanted to get with the con conversation, as it were.
I was preparing for the Dragon Con report this week. They're recording it, and I was like, oh, Dragon Con's probably really going to happen this year. And then I was like, oh crap, I'm going to need to get the book together. Because if Dragon Con returns after a year, 2 years, I'm going to be like, and I don't have anything.
And you don't have anything. That would be terrible.
Yeah. So now I've got 4 months to try to get something together.
You gotta get it cooking, buddy.
Exactly. So so what time is it? I think I might have to
we might need to wrap this up, huh?
No, just kidding.
So that was the cons are I mean, they've been back, they never went away. They've been happening this whole time. But for those of us who are, as I like to put it, being responsible, I think it's time to get back in the swing and start living again.
Psychologically, it's taken me a little bit. I mean, I've been vaccinated for about 3-4 weeks now. And last week, a friend came by to drop off a DVD, and that was the first time, because we had both been vaccinated. 2 weeks had passed or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I talked to someone less than 6 feet away, without masks, outside. But it was the first time I'd done that outside of my own house in over a year.
Oh, wow.
I forced myself because I had kind of misgiving, because psychologically I'm still trying to get over this. My anxiety and everything like that has sort of made me, kind of, has brought out the introvert in me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So because I've spent a year or so not going out, not doing anything, not, traveling only when necessary, quick in and outs of places, and because part of me, yes, I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to get COVID because I have health issues myself and I don't want to get those complicated. But the other thing is too, and what more importantly to me is I don't want to give it to anybody else.
Well, that was my biggest concern throughout the entire thing. Cause I'm as much as I joke about getting older and my body breaking down, like I'm pretty hale and hearty. Like I haven't had health issues, certainly not to the degree that you have. I wasn't really worried about my personal health and really even my family as much, but I don't, the idea that I might go somewhere and pick this thing up and give it to somebody who might give it to their grandmother
Yeah,
was mortifying, horrifying to
absolutely.
me.
Yeah,
That was really, obviously I didn't want to bring it home to my family, but I guess it's really where my social responsibility kicked in, and it's not that's not a huge part of my being, but with this, I really felt this. I really felt that it was important. Both my parents over 75,
mine too.
and we didn't go visit them last year because there's no way you drive from Atlanta to Wilmington, North Carolina without stopping.
Right.
And the thought of going to visit them and then 2 weeks later they end up with this thing, I couldn't live with that.
No.
And I felt similarly about the idea of giving it to somebody I didn't even know.
Right.
I
Yeah.
felt like we all needed to be as responsible. It wasn't about being paranoid. It wasn't about being scared. It was about everybody being as safe and responsible as they could possibly be. And I felt that big time, and have had a big in witnessing, in having my own personal feelings about this, and in witnessing others' actions in this. I've had quite a change in my worldview, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's been pretty crazy. And yeah, so, and it's still a concern. I mean, even though I'm vaccinated, I know that there's still a chance I
Well,
could get it and spread it.
yeah,
But to your point, if other people are not going to protect themselves, then I don't know that, and then there's an option to do so. I don't know that I really need to bear the brunt of that
no,
guilt anymore. So this weekend, I sort of, I really wanted to, and then I was trying to talk myself out of it. And I went to see, our good friends Ricky and Bambi, Possum King and Ramblers. They performed outside in a parking lot, and I went because I was like, let's do this. It's live music. It's good friends who I haven't seen in over a year,
and it's outdoors.
It's outdoors. And so I got there, and it was, nobody was wearing masks, and I got there with my mask, and I was like, I took it off, and I was like, this is weird. It's weird how things, like, it doesn't take long for things to become like habit forming. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Or in your head, to get in your head. And so, at least for me, it doesn't. And so that was weird, shopping at the comic store and then going out with them afterwards. We went to a restaurant. It's the first time I'd been inside a restaurant and eaten.
Was it Taco Bell?
It was Taco Bell. Of course it was Taco Bell. Ricky and Bambi were talking about. But it was the first time I'd done that in over a year.
I
And
still haven't been in a restaurant. I've
yeah,
been
I mean,
going in
well,
and
I
out of,
mean, it was one of those things where it's like, let's do
well,
it.
yeah,
And
why not? Well, and
yeah,
it's not that I have made a choice not to be in a restaurant. It's just that I haven't as
right.
yet. Like if I had been at that, I would have gone to Taco Bell. Like
Sure.
it's just that I haven't had the opportunity to do it.
So, and you know what? Throughout the concert, throughout the dinner afterwards, and I forgot. I forgot about the last one
Oh,
and a
how
half.
wild is that?
And every once in a while, my brain kicked in and went, "This is weird, isn't it?" And then my other part of my brain was like, "No, no, this is
This
normal."
is normal. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to check myself every so often. But I came home from that and I was like, man, I think life is resumed. I think we're getting there, and I think, I think I'm ready, or at least getting there to a point where, I think it's not going to be. I'm not going to stress out about it as much. I hope.
Well, and it's because the burden of social responsibility has been lifted. For me, anyway.
Yeah, right.
That's my feeling about it.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, that's a thing where, I mean, obviously everybody's got their own threshold. Some of them it's zero. And
Yeah. Well, and for anybody, again, as we were saying with how Dragon Con addresses this, for anybody who still isn't comfortable, that's fine. It's all about your personal feelings of what you can deal with, what you can manage, what you're comfortable immersing yourself in. There are going to be all kinds of different levels of that. So if you're not ready yet, then you're not ready yet.
yeah,
I'm not saying everybody should run out to Whitewater
right.
and jump in the wave pool, but we are at the point where I think if your personal choice is to resume your life, then you're absolved of that responsibility that we have had for the past year plus.
Yeah.
Because the option at this point is available to everyone to protect themselves.
Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's
And yeah.
let's let's move on to something a little lighter. So this
Not so
is
apocalyptic.
right. Yeah, let's move away from the doom plague. Have you seen, because this is needless things, we got to talk about toys a little bit.
Sure.
And you're not just, and I see behind you quite a tiki collection. Not a lot of toys back there, but that's okay.
There's some toys, but yeah,
I know
not
I
as
know
many.
you've
You're right.
got. I
Not
know
as
from
many.
time to time you'll pick up a toy. Have you seen these new Marvel retro figures? The 3.75-inch, the little figures, 5 points of articulation. Have you seen these
No,
things?
I don't know. I don't know what these are.
Oh man, I feel like you'd love them.
Uh-oh. Don't do that to me.
So when these were first, and if you have the Google handy, um, if you Google Marvel Legends Retro,
Mm-hmm.
they might pop up in front of you. And this is another place where Hasbro has kind of fudged it a little bit, because Marvel Legends Retro is two different things. It's the 6-inch figures on the packaging of like the Toy Biz 90s figures, but it's also these little 3.75-inch figures that the intention of these is, what if Kenner had made Marvel Comics figures back in the day?
I see.
Uh, and when these were first announced, I'm man enough to admit that I poo-pooed them, that I didn't understand who they were for. But now they're showing up at Target and Walmart, and Phantom Jr., who is not really the intended audience for these, I don't think, he loves them because they're $10 a pop. They
Interesting.
come on these card backs with classic art. And here is what we were talking about it earlier, because I'll tell you right now, Phantom Jr. is developing into quite a little intellectual. He ran, I don't know if you and don't feel bad saying no. Have you checked out the greatest animated series of all time at all?
I have not got a chance to see that yet.
If you get the
I'm really behind on
opportunity,
all that stuff.
if and that's fine. If you get the opportunity to check it out on YouTube, you don't have to watch the whole 3 hour thing, but just pop in for a little bit. But he ran production on it.
Oh wow.
He sat here, and while we all drank our adult beverages and did our silly thing, he was switching between camera angles. He was posting comments. Like, he ran the production for the whole thing.
Well, that's a good thing about having like, the next generation down there, because it's like my nephew, it's like I like, you were talking earlier about like I don't know anything about TikTok. I couldn't even figure out in Dragon Con how to work the Discord. I was like, I don't
Well, and
understand.
I was talking about Twitch and not TikTok, but that's okay.
So but I'm just saying, like, there's all this new stuff that I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, I don't even know what Discord is. I've had two people in the last couple of weeks tell me like, "Oh, well, you can find the Discord." I just have no idea what this is. I'm just learning Twitch now because I'm finding it can be a lot of fun and beneficial. But like now, Discord is a thing I've got to learn. Have you seen these little figures yet? Have you Googled them yet?
I just Googled them, and I'm looking at, I believe this is the
You
packaging.
know, you know what I could have done is send you a link.
You could have. That's all right. You know what? I'm a grown man. I know how to use Google. So, but thank you for the assist. Not. No, I'm looking at these 3.75 Marvel Legends retro. There's some packaging. I'm seeing a Black Panther, an Iron Man, a Spider-Man, an Electro.
And here's the key: is they're the classic looks for the characters and not some like
Yes.
modern thing that I'm not even familiar with. Like, these are looks that I think any generation of fan is familiar with.
Yeah, looks like there's two Black Panthers.
Well, there's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive that has like a metallic sheen, and he comes in a 2-pack with Iron Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
And then there's the standard release, but the fact that
Gotcha.
he's the classic Black Panther with the blue striped gloves and boots.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
when these were first announced, I was like, what? I don't understand these. They're not, because my thinking was, why not update Secret Wars? Like, make them look like that.
Mm.
I don't know what these are for, but what they're for is a $10 price point that tickles your nostalgia. They're like the retro action figure line that never was. These are what, if there had been a Marvel line concurrent with the original Star Wars line, this is what it would have been. And they're plentiful. You can walk into a Target or a Walmart right now and buy them. They're not hard to find. They're $10, which is the magic price point now, because if you're collecting Marvel Legends or Star Wars Black Series or G.I. Joe Classified, those are all $20 figures. These $10 is pocket change now. With inflation, that's a very low price point for an action figure. And between the classic looking card art and the look of the figures, they're all this like uniform look and style. Hasbro has created this really magically appealing line. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, to get your eyes on it as somebody who has been invested in these characters for so long, and who is I would think of you as a pop culture guru to sort of get your take on these guys.
These are great. I'm looking at the Spider-Man and the Electro ones, because those are really my Marvel guy. Like, I'm not a huge Marvel head, but I am a big Spider-Man fan. And it's interesting to me that they chose Electro. But I mean, it's the classic Electro. This is like from, the 90s series, a kind of. Yeah, they look great. The Spider-Man looks great. I mean, obviously it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation. Um, and you're right, the price point is right there too. So I might have a hard time saying no to these.
Right? These are
The
the kind of thing that you're walking down the aisle and you see them just sitting there and you're like, "Oh, those are kind of neat. Oh, they're only $10."
right, right. Yeah. I damn you. I might I might have to like check some of these out because they look pretty good. There's a nice 2-pack of looks like Spider-Man and Electro that's really, really neat. In a box or something. Looks like a comic cover.
Yeah, they did
Um,
a few Hasbro Pulse exclusive 2-packs
yeah.
um that are pretty neat. And then, like I said, the rest of them are all just these simple, basic blister carded. And by the way, uh, for the listeners who are familiar with sort of the retro figure lines that are out right now, the cards on these are very thick. They don't get messed up like the Star Wars cards do, like the WWF, or excuse me, WWE retro figures. They're basically tissue paper. These are sturdy cards that are going to survive being on pegs at retail. So if you're into, and I told Phantom Jr. earlier, because I'm not collecting these, but the benefit of having a son who is into toy collecting is that
Sure.
if there's something that I wish I was collecting that he wants, that I get the thrill of buying it for him, but I'm not collecting it. So I told him earlier, I was like, if I didn't already have so much stuff, I would love to have a wall of these mint on card.
Yeah, that's the thing about the retro, sort of what the reaction line, right? That has
Yeah,
been so
yeah, yeah.
popular. It's like they're great looking like little figures that minimalistic, but yet they're pretty well done. The packaging is so gorgeous on a lot of them that you don't want to just like, I mean, I don't mind taking my figures out of the boxes. I've never minded that so much. But with these, you're kind of like, I don't want to because it looks like art, like looks like something I
It's,
want to show.
and that's exactly the thing with those Super 7 reaction figures. And I mean, you've been to the Phantom Zone. You know I open all of my toys,
Absolutely.
but I have walls of those reaction figures still on the card in protectors, no less,
Hmm.
because they're so good at hiring these artists like Jason Edmiston and all, like, these guys who create this gorgeous card art where you're not just buying this figure, you're buying a little, like you said, a little piece of art that the
Yeah.
figure is part of. So yeah, and Hasbro, to their credit, has figured that out. Figured, no pun intended,
Oh, intend the
but
pun. Always intend the pun.
in their own little way, Hasbro is aping that formula with this Marvel Retro series and releasing very good little figures, but very good little figures that when they are presented with their cards are these little sort of snippets of time, I guess, snippets of nostalgia. And they work very well. I think I've like I said, I kind of poo-pooed them originally, but now that I've seen them in person, uh, I get it, and I think they're really cool.
Yeah, I'm right now. I mean, I haven't gone into a Target in a while. But I, it would be hard pressed when I, if I went into a Target not to see if, because I know they've been showing up on select Targets. I'm not sure about anywhere else, but the Defenders of the Earth Flash Gordon
Oh
figures,
yeah, dude, those NECA ones.
and the Flash Gordon and Ming, man, they look so good, and I'm kind of like, do I want to invest in those? But because I did get the Hero Hacks Flash Gordon and Lunchbox figure and Lunchbox that they put out last year.
Yeah, the Boss
Yeah,
Fight Studios. Was
yeah,
it
yeah,
even
yeah.
last year? Or was it? Oh yeah, it was right before Christmas. I think it was when it finally hit. Right.
Right, I think so. Yeah, somewhere in the last few months. Yeah. Um, so I did get that. But don't, I don't have hardly any Ming figures, and
And that Ming.
That
I
Ming is
still
just
haven't
is awesome.
I still haven't seen it in person. I got the Flash Gordon, and for the listeners, you can check out my review on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Uh, and I had no intention of buying these figures because Defenders, like, I love the movie Flash Gordon. And despite being for many years being a character called Phantom Troublemaker, whose signature color was purple, I don't actually have a particular attachment to the Phantom. Uh, and Defenders of the Earth came just a little after my time of being super invested into the cartoons of the era. Um, but when I saw that Flash Gordon in person, I had to have it. It looked so good. And now I still haven't found Phantom or Ming in stores. Now you can order them from like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, but I want to find them. I still like the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, well, that and I don't know. Are they cheaper if you go in Target?
Yeah, they're cheaper in Target too.
Because like, most of the time I've seen them like online, they're like 30, $35. And
well, they're $30 in Target.
Gotcha. So
$30 in Target or Walmart. Big Bad, you can get the set. I want to say for $90, but you've got to pay shipping. But here's the great thing about BigBadToyStore.com is they have $4 flat rate shipping.
Yeah, I've ordered from them before.
But theirs are still pre-order. They don't actually have them in stock yet. So it's a little bit of a wait. But anyway, that Flash Gordon is so awesome. And for something that I had never intended to buy, as soon as I see Phantom and Ming, I'm going to get them. And what's it? Lothar, I think, is another one. And then they've already showed Mandrake and one other one.
Yeah, there's one other one. It's oh man, I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah, I am too. But anyway, the NECA Defenders of the Earth look like I would go so far as to say they're a step above NECA's usual releases.
Huh.
And NECA's usual releases are pretty darn good, unless you're talking about their durability. All right, so we got a little toy talk in. I feel good about that. I've exposed you to a brand that next time you're in Target and you see one of those little Spider-Man figures, you're probably going to have to buy it.
I'm probably going to have to buy it. Probably in Electro too, because you can't just buy a hero. You need
yeah, you've got to get him and Electro. And then once you see the Iceman, which is translucent blue plastic, he looks awesome. It's a slippery slope.
It sure is. Next thing I know, I'll be like Sinister Six.
So I've got a number of other things in here. But we've taken up a good amount of time. We're doing all right. We're on a roll. We got to talk about wrestling a little bit, Mike Gordon.
Okay.
Because what the listeners may not realize, but that you and I are very aware of, is the fact that we are currently not watching WWE Backlash, or excuse me, WrestleMania Backlash. Which they have to call, because putting WrestleMania in front of something just makes it more exciting and important. So let's talk a little bit about the state of wrestling. And I will, once we're done recording, and once Backlash is done, I will watch Backlash. But as far as WWE goes, the move to Peacock has been, in my opinion, a disaster. I didn't realize how much the WWE network played into my fandom of WWE.
Wow.
But the loss of it and all of the content on it, because here I had been really at the beginning of the pandemic, I went back and I started not rewatching, because I never I didn't start watching Raw until late 97. I was not, like, when I was a kid, I watched the Saturday night, like, WWF stuff. But during the 90s, I was a WCW guy. So I went back and started watching Raws from like 95 on. And I was watching those Raws, and then once
Mm.
Nitro started, I was watching Nitro and Raw. So I was going back and watching those. Those are not on Peacock.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
I haven't done a deep dive on Peacock. I mean, I've noticed
there's
that they
no
have
deep
some
dive
stuff,
to be
but
done. I'm here to tell you right now, there is no deep dive. Peacock's interface is horrible. The ability to
true.
search is horrible. Um, I did not realize how spoiled I was by the WWE network until I didn't have it anymore. And Peacock's awful interface, lack of content, and just general not being WWE centric has really had an effect on how much I care about WWE in general, which is a weird thing to say, but it's a fact. And it doesn't help that the current WWE product is, with a few shining exceptions, is no great shakes either.
Yeah, that I mean, you're not wrong in any of that. I have not like I said, done a deep dive into Peacock and what's on there. But to be honest, I wasn't using the WWE network as much as say you were the you just described.
Okay.
I would go there occasionally, but I was not really using it for its full potential. I did like watching, Stone Cold show on there and
Yeah.
his interviews and all of that. Um, so I didn't know. I knew that. Look, I mean, it's only been on Peacock for less than 2 months. I'm sure that content, a lot of it's coming, but I don't know that for sure. The only thing that irks me is the fact that now when a pay per view starts, I can't watch it from the beginning while it's happening.
Well, and that was
It's like that's
my
so annoying.
that was my point in saying once we're done, I guess I'll watch it, because
Yeah.
on the
If I would
network,
start watching it now, on the
right,
network, it would allow you that option to watch from beginning
now you have to wait. If
until
you
it's over.
don't start watching from the beginning, you have to
Yep.
wait until it's over and watch it then, which is preposterous.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, to watch it from the beginning, you have to do that,
What
right?
year
But if you
is
could just
this?
want to join it in, right?
What year is this? 2016?
I know. Look, I'm not. Uh, so, that, but you're right. Like I said, it annoys me too. So I'm like, oh, so now I have to make sure that if a pay per view is on, I have to watch it right from the beginning.
Right.
And
Which we have not had to
yeah,
do in years.
yeah, I can't even. Right, you're right, exactly. So that in and of itself, has been annoying, and I agree with you about the product. Now, when you say the product, I'm I'm referring to, or when I say the product, I'm referring to Raw and SmackDown, as the WWE products. That is really just kind of more miss than hit. I still like a lot of the people and personalities involved,
Yes. Yes.
but the storylines and a lot of the other ways that they do things, I haven't been happy with. But after WrestleMania, I go through a period where I kind of get burnt out anyway, because you watch so much between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania that after that you're kind of like, whew, I need a little bit of a break. And wrestling doesn't take a break,
See,
not
I'm
inherently.
I'm the opposite of that. Well, WrestleMania used to be sort of the season finale, and then you would have Backlash to tie up any loose ends, and then things almost reset. But now they don't seem to look at it that way anymore. But I always felt sort of reinvigorated after WrestleMania.
Well, especially since the Raws and the SmackDowns are like the season premieres, right? Like they would bring back, they would hold off and introduce people
Right
on those
after
shows,
Mania.
right? Right,
Yes.
exactly. So yeah, it would energize you a little bit more, and sometimes the landscape had changed enough so it was interesting. But they're not doing that now, at least
No.
not to the extent that it's that interesting. Um, and yeah, so I find, like, with the event tonight, I'm not I don't think anything's going to happen of note.
No, no.
So I'm kind of just like, yeah, you know, so you want to do something else? That's fine. I'll watch it later when it's on in the background, like I do with Raw and SmackDown usually.
You care so little about Backlash, you were willing to record a Needless Things podcast. That's where the bar is.
I am willing to do needless things rather than watch that pay-per-view. Yes, exactly. That's well said.
That's how far you've fallen, Vince McMahon. Because you're probably listening to this.
Marketing fail. But on the other hand, everything that I have in terms of wrestling, every itch that I have about wrestling is scratched with NXT. I love NXT so much. If I could only watch 1 hour, one wrestling show a week, that's what it would be. If I could only watch one wrestling show for the rest of the year, that's what it would be. I just love it so much. I love the way they do things. I love the personalities. I love the on-air team, the commentary team. I just think, man, they're just the best. And my favorite wrestlers are there doing bonker things. It's just, I love it. I love it. And so as far as the WWE brand goes, you know, in terms of Raw and SmackDown, fail on both parts. But in terms of NXT, man, I just can't get enough of that. And it satisfies me. I mean, I've tried dipping my toe into other things, AEW, ROH, Impact, and I'm not satisfied with any of those. And you know, and I don't, to be honest with you, I don't have time for
there's too much damn wrestling.
I don't have time for 15 hours wrestling week. And I kind of feel still, and this is my bad, I kind of feel still like I want to know what's going on with Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah,
I can't just like ditch them. But yeah, but we can take a break for a little while.
Well, here's where I'm at. I am hugely invested right now in AEW and in Impact. I find them, and this was not right off the bat. AEW took me a couple
I know when
of.
they started, you were kind of
I didn't
warm on them
when it started. I was not impressed, and I didn't go back to it until probably about this time last year. I'm trying to think when I went back and started giving it a chance again. It might not have even been this time last year. It might have been August or September. I'm trying to think who it was that showed up. I know when Miro showed up, I was already watching.
Right.
But anyway, AEW 100% has its hooks in me now. I think it's the most entertaining wrestling that's on now. It's not all good, but it's all entertaining. I think NXT is the best wrestling show on television, but I'm more excited to watch AEW every week.
My main attraction right now with wrestling, like I said, the entire NXT roster, but my main attraction right now for wrestling is women's wrestling.
Yes.
And
dude,
yes,
Zoe Stark is a phenomenon.
That division is incredible. You know,
Thunder Rosa's in AEW, right?
I know. I watched that match with her and Britt Baker, and that's one of the best matches I've seen.
That was incredible.
I'm like, I don't know what other thing is going to have to happen this year in order for that not to be the match of the year.
Right. I agree with you.
And
although I will say this, Darby Allin versus Miro from last week is a contender.
And you know, look, I like watching, I'm not going to lie, I like watching women. I find them attractive. But really, there's something about the women's wrestling. It's almost like it's new for them. They don't want to miss their chance to make history.
They're hungry.
They're hungry. Thank you. That's why,
Yes.
yes, and that's a difference between NXT and the main roster. The main roster, I'm not saying they're sitting around getting fat, but they're sitting around getting fat. They don't care. Like they want to put on good matches, but they're not. They're not hungry. They're
Right.
not willing to do anything to get a spot. Shotzi Blackheart will do freaking anything.
She is out of her mind. And she's not, look, and I love Shotzi. She's one of my favorites. She's not the best talker. She's certainly not the best in-ring worker.
Nope.
But man, her passion and her energy come through in everything she does.
Yes, it's so infectious.
And 2-3 years from now, she's gonna be one of the best in the business.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I love about NXT is you like think about watching Raquel Gonzalez over the past couple of years.
Oh man,
and
such
her
journey. Such a journey.
And that's what's so exciting is that NXT lets you really invest in these characters.
Yep.
And you get to see a payoff. Whereas in the main roster, nobody's worth investing in because you never know when they're going to disappear, when the powers that be are going to lose interest, when they're going to take. I know how you feel about Bobby Lashley, but the Hurt Business, MVP Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, one of my top 5 things in entertainment, not in wrestling, in entertainment last year. And WWE just broke them up for no reason. No payoff, no story to the split, no nothing. Broke up what I considered to be the best faction of the past decade for no reason at all. And that's what the WWE main roster is don't bother caring about anything because you never know when it's just going to disappear with no reason at all.
Plus, they even like dampen the things that you should be super excited about. I mean, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, to me, 2 years ago was a dream match.
Yes.
It happened at WrestleMania, and I could have cared less.
I agree. Well, we're at the point now where, a few years ago, it was exciting when your NXT favorite got called up to the main roster. Now
it's
no. Yeah. I don't want any of them. I would never want Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano.
No.
I never want any of them to get called up because I want them to keep being relevant and keep having good matches.
Andrade, Ricochet, Aleister Black, Keith Lee. I love those guys 3 years ago. They were the best of the best 3 years ago. And you know what? I know that they didn't do anything wrong.
No,
I know that they still have the capability of being amazing.
Dude, Andrade, to me, he was poised to be the next great Latino superstar. Absolutely. He was going to be the next Eddie. Yeah. And they just dropped the ball.
They didn't.
And with 57 writers or whatever it is they have on those 2 shows, they can't. That's the other thing that drives me nuts is, when I grew to love, I said I was a WCW guy in the 90s, and then I grew to love WWF as time went on. The reason I grew to love WWF is because the mid-card meant something. Yep. You had guys like Val Venus and Al Snow and Molly Holly and Hurricane, like all of these great storylines happening in the mid-card that the main event were the top names that it didn't matter what they were doing. You wanted to see Stone Cold and The Rock and Mick Foley and all those guys. Whatever they were doing, you were going to watch anyway. But they understood that the mid-card needed these engaging stories from week to week to keep you invested. And that's what made the Attitude Era so great. It wasn't the boobs, it wasn't the swearing, it wasn't choppy your pee. It was the fact that there were stories for every level of talent.
Yep.
And
And
now
they don't do that.
they don't
NXT
care.
gets it. NXT
absolutely gets it. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story. There's no such thing as a simple squash match in NXT.
No, well, they do have, but that's the thing. They do have squash.
They do have them, but they're not simply just squash matches.
Right. You have the thing. Here's the thing in NXT that I love. You will see a squash match, but the person that lost 6 months from now, 8 months from now, a year from now, you're going to be watching them rise up.
Or during that course of that match, they're not just going to get squashed in 3 minutes. They're going to like have some sort of impact. It's like, oh, well, I guess he took this person for granted or whatever. And they're going to have a story. Well, you're going to see them.
You never know. You never know when somebody is going to
beat Tony Storm.
Well, right, exactly, because that's what was happening. Is Zoe Stark was going out there and getting jobbed out, and then all of a sudden she beats Tony Storm. And that's what makes NXT special. Is the people booking that show, Hunter, understand how to keep the audience engaged and understand how to keep all of the talent interesting to the audience.
And it's not just, TV is all about characters. TV is all about characters. That's why people tune into TV shows. Yeah, sometimes the mystery, sometimes the plot of shows are just boring and not entertaining, but as long as you like those characters, you're going to keep tuning in. And that's what the main roster is dropping. NXT has. And I will say their in-ring stuff, while it may not be as polished, feels raw, feels genuine. And 9 times out of 10, when I watch an NXT match, I'm going to see something, I'm going to go, damn. And I'll say damn out loud, which is not something I hardly ever say when I'm watching the main roster stuff. And I hate to call them the main roster because in my mind, they're not the main roster.
No, well, and that's absolutely. And that's another big difference is there's this formula to Raw and SmackDown matches.
Yes.
That NXT does not observe.
Nope.
And also, to me, the best wrestling match isn't one with the most false finishes. It isn't the one with the most flippy stuff. It isn't the one with whatever. It's the one where I believe 2 people are competing to get the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just doing move after move. They're not going through the motions.
Right.
They're really competing. And I'm not saying that I necessarily believe, although there are times in NXT where I believe they're like, I'll get caught up. But the competition in NXT feels real. And they don't, it depends on the level of the talent. You still do every once in a while have that moment where you see somebody is waiting for a move to happen. But there's a lot less of that in NXT than there is on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Where it feels like NXT feels less choreographed in general. But that brings me to why I love AEW and Impact so much, is that watching their product, as much as it is not as polished and produced as NXT, watching AEW and Impact, I really get caught up in those matches. I really feel like I can believe in the struggle between the competitors. Impact in particular, after watching, they had an event last night. For the listeners, this past Saturday night, called Under Siege. And watching those matches, there's something really special in Impact where I feel like those wrestlers have more agency in the development of in the development and presentation of their characters, which makes sense because obviously even NXT wants to have that certain level of control over their brand.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
they have action figures and T-shirts to sell. They have
Yep.
it's an entirely different entity from what Impact is. Uh, but the level of passion in Impact is so different to me because I feel like there's investment and ownership on the part of the talent that's not there even in AEW. Although AEW has it to a great degree, sometimes too great a degree, which is part of their it's part of why I love them, but it's also part of their problem. Uh but
I, I have noticed that over the last month or so, my eyes in my peripheral vision, I keep like looking over at some stuff that's happening in Impact, and I'm like, ooh, or oh, like every like week or so, I'm like, oh, that look like, and that hasn't been true in a long time. Like there
well,
was times where I
they've
was like, I didn't even think they existed really anymore. But over the last month or so, especially thanks to this arrangement they have with AEW, I think, but
yes,
also
yes.
um, you know, just some of the others, wrestlers they have too. I even watched, the introduction. I think it was the introduction. I watched some clips of the wrestler formerly known as Cass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. Like I'm like,
He's
he's good. Like he's
he's
like,
there to prove himself,
and
and
good for him.
that's kind of what Impact is you've got veterans like uh Eddie Edwards
Mm,
who love the company. You've got guys like Johnny Swinger who are there just to have fun. You've got Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, who everybody knows I've got a soft spot for those guys, but they're there to show that WWE never used them to their potential.
right.
And Brian Myers has 100% already proven that. And Matt Cardona is in the process of proving that. And that's kind of what Impact comes across as, is this proving ground where you've got young talent like guys like Ace Austin or women like Deanna Parazzo, who was in NXT and just
Yep.
didn't get used to her potential.
Yep.
Jordan Grace, who is a powerhouse. Uh, Everybody in NXT or in Impact is there to do basically what MSK did.
Mm-hmm.
MSK, they were the rascals
Right.
in
Yeah, that's
Impact,
right.
and those guys are incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, but we've kind of given our scope of the wrestling world.
Yeah. Last thing I
Uh,
have to say though is that I know we've talked about it before, but the pandemic in my mind, killed NWA, and
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so sad about that. And I know that they're going on now and they're doing stuff. I can't see them because I don't know how to access fits without, Fit
Yeah,
TV or
I
whatever.
haven't kept up with it either. That
And
show we went to was so good.
so good. And I was like, this is, yes,
This is our new thing.
this is my new
This is what we
thing.
thought. This is
And
our new thing.
yep. And then now it's gone. So and it might be able to get it back, who knows, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's the one where I was like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that aside from my belief in the general good of humanity, the biggest casualty of the pandemic was NWA Power. All right, one last thing real quick before we go. What franchise, if it were to get a toy line, would you absolutely not be able to resist? Or is there one?
Oh,
Because
there
honestly,
probably
just
is.
about everything has a toy line.
There probably is. And you're right, everything does have a toy line, and it does frustrate me sometimes. And I do get caught up on it. if it's limited enough, I can, I'll cave. I otherwise I just get spot figures here and there, like
Yeah.
ooh, Thrawn,
Right, right,
so
right.
or ooh, Ahsoka, or they almost had me with getting the entire Rebels crew with those Black Series, but I was
Well,
like,
and
but
they re-released them all at the same time and made
yep,
it very easy, very
yep, I
accessible.
know, I know, and I was like, if I had been in a better place, I might have pulled the trigger on it, but uh I don't know. I succumb to, I think the only line of extensive line of pop figures I have is the ones from Westworld.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that you have Westworld figures. But I don't think that would be, yeah, I haven't looked, I looked at them and I was
They're
like,
they're Diamond Select, and
yeah,
they're just not that exciting.
right.
I'll tell you what I would like. What would have gotten me is if somebody had done some retro style Westworld figures.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would have actually been very
Or
almost
at
like,
least just Yul Brenner. Like
do
that's the
you
only one I need.
well, do you
I'm
remember
surprised they
the
didn't have it. I'm surprised he doesn't have a vinyl pop. Like just him.
yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Do you remember the Lone Ranger action figure line from like the early 80s, late 70s, I
I
think?
do. I do.
What if they did
I
Westworld
remember him back
figures?
longer than that. I had a Scout and a Tonto back in the day when they were dolls.
What if they did Westworld figures like that? How cool would that be?
Maybe the one, this was like maybe what, 5 7 years ago. I don't even know now. But there was one line. There were two lines of there was two cartoons that I was watching that I was like, man, if they made toys of these, I would not be able to say no. And one was Tron Legacy,
Oh
and the
yeah, yeah.
other was the that Green Lantern cartoon with
The Green Lantern animated, and that's what killed the show
oh,
was there was no toy line.
I would have signed up and bought all of them. I love both of
That show
those.
was
They were
so
on at the
good.
same time,
Yeah.
and I just thought visually they look really cool. And I was like, if somebody puts together a line of figures like that for those, I wouldn't be able to say no. Um, I'm uh as far as stuff that I'm like really watching or looking at now, I don't know if there's anything that's strong enough to pull me back. um because I'm pretty resistant, to be honest with you, because A, my financial situation, and B, it's just like, where would I put it? Like I just like, like
Yeah,
a whole line is
space
like,
is an issue.
yeah, I'm just like, what, there's certain things I just can't say no to. If they ever there's a I'm a big fan. My biggest love in comics is for a series by Matt Wagner called Grendel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he just released a new Grendel story called Grendel Odyssey, which is Grendel Prime in space. And I'm like, man, if they ever do a statue or something or a figure of that, I am like, I have to buy anything Grendel related.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I will be buying, like if they do something like that.
Well, unfortunately, that one of my favorite toy lines of all time, those Big Blast figures,
Mhm.
was it Dark Horse that did those? The big 8-inch figures, they did Hellboy and
Yep.
Grendel,
Yep. I have the Grendel one.
and
They
Mage.
did Madman.
Madman, yes.
Yes. Yep. I have that one too.
One of the best action figure lines of all time.
It
Very
was pretty
underrated.
awesome. Yeah, that's when indie comics are really happening.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and I think naturally I just think of comics more because I'm thinking, like I know they have some Saga toys,
But they're
but
not good.
I haven't been pulled in that direction yet.
Dude, if you had told me, if on issue 20 of Saga, you had told me that there would be action figures and that I would not care about owning them, I would have said you were insane. But those figures are so ugly. They don't scale with anything.
It's
I
stupid.
don't understand. But we can't end on a negative note.
No, 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 no.
We've got to end on a positive note.
A positive note.
So
I look, just keep making, Flash Gordon figures, and you've got my attention.
That's what I want. I want a really, really nice Flash Gordon movie line. I would
Yes,
love
because
that.
usually they don't get past, 3 or 4 figures.
Yeah.
I would love, if someone did like a complete run of it, like a whole stack of them, like 20, I would be compelled.
And I don't even care what format, but just make them
no, I don't think that
representative
would
of the
either.
movie.
Yep.
And get through all of the big characters.
Absolutely. All, yes, Clytus and
Yes.
all of them, like every single one of them. I would do that, and I would even pay for one of those Kickstarter things to have either a throne room or a War Rocket Ajax.
Oh man, I would want the platform with the spikes.
Oh yes,
that would be the must-have for me.
Yeah, yes, that would be sweet. And even like Arborea with the hand and the worm.
Oh, the tree stump,
stump thing. Great play sets.
We have reached our own personal platform of spikes. We must bid you a fond farewell. Tell us where you're online and what you're up to.
Dude, it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for the invite. Always great talking to you. You can find me at newlegendmike.com. That's where you can find out what book I'm going to produce for DragonCon this year. Maybe I'll go there too and I can find out. And of course, Earth Station 1, earthstation1.com, or ESOnetwork.com. I'm on every week there.
Awesome, Mike. Always a pleasure talking to you, and we'll have you back on sooner than later. We need to have you on one of the panel shows soon.
That'd be fun. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Remember, Saturday night on Twitch. Go ahead and subscribe to Needless Things on Twitch right now. And at 8 p.m.-ish, Masters of the Universe Origins in full detail. Everything that's come out so far. Check out the Needless Things YouTube channel. Toy reviews every Monday and Wednesday, and the occasional full video episode, like the greatest animated series of all time. Please follow Needless Things on Instagram. It's Needless Things Podcast on Instagram. Phantom Troublemaker on Instagram. You can follow Twitter if you want. I don't like it, so I'm not there much. Join the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group, where you can have direct input into the shows, like voting for the entrance into the greatest animated series of all time. If you listen to that episode and you're wondering, why was this not included? You know why? Because you didn't suggest it. It's your fault. But that's okay, because next time we do one of these tournaments in a couple of months, I don't know when exactly, you will have the opportunity to share your input. I believe every single suggestion that came from the Needless Things audience was included in the tournament in some way. Now, there were a number that were put in kind of like a wild card thing to compete for a slot, but we took everyone's suggestions. So there you go. I lots of big things coming for the Needless Things podcast, for the Needless Things family. I just am so excited right now, and I hope you guys are ready for a ride, because there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and I can't wait for you to see it. I love you guys.
You have been listening to a Needless Things podcast. You can follow Needless Things on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at needlessthingspodcast.com. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.